All right, it's March 4th, 2024, and this is probably my last boil. We'll see. It's going to be really warm. It's in the 60s today. I'm in shorts, which is insane. Hopefully, I don't get another burn like I did the other day, which happened when it got warm and I didn't have to have a jacket. So I've been trying to be extra careful today, feeding wood into my evaporator so I don't get burned. But I had a catastrophe that I think I mentioned in a previous video where I lost all my sap last week when it froze. Ended up collecting more. My sugar content has dropped. So it had been running about 1.6, 1.5%. Now it's down to about 1.1, which naturally happens as you get to the end of the season. The percentage of sugar in there starts to go down. And obviously then you have to boil more or RO more to get the same amount of syrup. But I think everything is still okay. My tanks were starting to get a little bit funky, not quite as clear. It starts to go milky. After that, things can go downhill and you start getting quite a bit of growth in your tanks, and you see cruddy things floating in there and it smells not so good. And that I haven't got there yet, and I RO'd this morning. Again, lower sugar content, so I have less to evaporate, but it's up and running. I'll get a shot here. So again, this is probably my last one of the season. I'm pulling syrup off right now, so you can see comes out of the spigot. I have been using some filters. They've just become a total nuisance, so I'm actually just using the strainer to catch little pieces of debris that might be in there, like leaves or something. That does a decent job of getting it, and then it actually goes through a pretty extensive filter system down at my friend Mark's house with diatomaceous earth filter aid that I've never videoed because it's not my facility, but we've look at here. We've actually bottled off. And I don't know if I mentioned this in another video, but 13 gallons in bottles so far, and then I filled a 15-gallon keg, and then I've got some more still in my little Coney kegs over there that needs to be finished. So whenever I'm done here, we'll go down to Mark's and finish the last of it, and either bottle it off in the remainder of my bottles, which got really expensive this year. They're about $1.50 each, or I'll put it in the kegs and it'll stay good as long as I put it in a cool place like my basement until it needs to either be sold in bulk or bottled off down the road. Shut my tap off here. Reason I mentioned this might be my last boil. It's quite warm today, going to be quite warm tomorrow, in the 60s, and it's going to go into the 50s, close to freezing on Thursday, and today's Monday. They've changed the forecast like 5 different times, so I don't know what to expect, but it doesn't look like it's going to freeze, but there is more cold weather coming, I think Saturday or Sunday. And we'll have about another week of weather that goes below freezing in the evenings. So the question right now is, has this warm stent done too much damage? Because what happens is the tap holes in the trees end up essentially scabbing over. If you think about what happens when we get a cut, and the flow starts to slow down and eventually stops. And that goes quicker as the temperatures go up. The other thing is once the trees start to bud out, which I don't think is going to be a problem here because I'm so high up, but if they do, then the chemistry in the sap changes and it is no longer syrup quality. So it's questionable what I'm going to get next weekend and next week, but I think what I'm going to do, I've already cleaned my tanks out with a pressure washer just to get all the gunk and grime out, any growth that's been there since it has been warm. I'm going to try to collect it. It's actually still flowing today, kind of surprising, but it's flowing pretty good. It's got to taper off though later today, certainly by tomorrow. And I'll see what I get next week and give it a shot. But this might be it. So what I'm probably going to end up having to do is empty the evaporator out here and use this turkey fryer to boil down in a much more manual process, batch process, everything that's in my evaporator. So I'll get it out of there so it doesn't spoil in the hot weather. And then in case nothing happens the next week, I don't have bad sap sitting in here, getting gunky and nasty. If it does look like it's good next week and I get more sap and it doesn't seem bad, I'll fill up the evaporator again and give it another shot. So that's it for right now, and I'll check in again later. Probably not until I see what happens next weekend.